All right. Well, a very interesting lesson. What we have here is the 6 principal parts. And this will be more explanatory in just a little bit, but in English, we have, for instance, words that are irregular. They're not normal construction. They don't follow the normal form. Like go and gone is went just kind of doesn't fit in very well, the word went. And so Greek has something like that, probably because they had all the city-states with the different dialects, and they probably pulled in some words from these other ones. Most of it's Attic type, the Attic, which is from Athens, but we have other dialects probably work their way in somehow, okay? And so the Greek verb normally has 6 principal parts. Each of these presents a tense stem. There's a stem. Now, the file that I sent you that had Greek grammar and lexicon and grammar notes, that file has a lot of the words, and I've been working on it to have them as many as possible to have the roots words beside the definition, have it right with it. So that file will help you some, right? Now, each of them has a tense stem, and these stems are used to construct all tenses and all moods and voices. There are 3 of the principal parts which have a second or alternative weak stem, weak forms. Then there's 6 forms, and for example, a first and second aorist. There's 2 different forms for the aorist, for example, first and second. Now, the first and second aorist, you remember, doesn't change the meaning of it. It just has a different form. It still has the same meaning as the aorist. First and second aorist has the same basic meaning. The aorist didn't change its meaning. So some verbs may have more than 6 forms, like the first and second aorist. Many of your verbs do not have a full complement of 6. Some forms having dropped out of use. Right? This is where we get into saying it's like am, was, and been, like our English words, am, was, and been. Those are from the same word, but look at the forms; they're all different. In present, past, and perfect tense. The chart, here's the chart of your principal parts. And this material here, I think I've got all of this material in that file. If my memory's right, I spent one day getting it all in that file and making sure it was up to snuff, if you want to call it that. Hopefully it was correct. So we have present tense luo, and luo is what we're going to build it from, but we'll have other words too. Present imperfect in all moods and voices, the tense made from that. And luso is your future. It's future inactive in middle voices. Okay. And lusa, aorist, that's first aorist, and it's aorist active in middle voices. Okay. Has the second for the me verbs. So the me verbs take a second aorist rather than the first aorist. So some of your verbs take a first and some take a second. So they'll have a little different form. So that's where you run into that, different verbs. Now, luo will only take one form. It takes the first aorist. But other words, like the me verbs, tithemi and so forth, didomi, they will take a second aorist. All right? The second or me aorist. The perfect leluka, your first perfect. And of course, the perfect has 2 forms. The perfect, pluperfect have the same basic form. Okay? Leluma, perfect middle. Remember, what we have is the aorist and the future, middle, and passive have different forms, but the perfect doesn't. Okay. We have perfect middle and pluperfect middle. And there is a future perfect, but it's only about 4 or 5 instances, maybe 6 or 7 instances in the New Testament. When we get through with the book, I will add that to a lesson on that for you, okay? and we'll have it recorded and everything. Okay? But I'll have to send you notes on that at that time. So it's a little bit of it's in our book here, but I've leaned it out of other grammar books. Okay? So I found the passages. What we'll probably do is just look at all the verses where it's found. So it's a middle passive, perfect, future perfect. I'm sorry, future perfect is what I was on. For aorist passive form, right down here we see it. That's eluthane. It'll be seen that the principal parts are cited in the first personal singular of each of the verbs in which the verb occurs. To know a verb, you must know the principal parts. So he gives us 3 parts of the English verb or 4 parts of the Latin verb. So I don't know any Latin, but the French, he gives some examples from the French as well, from which these languages also all verb forms are built. Now, some types of verbs treat all verbs with the same type as models, like luo. Luo is standard. It doesn't have this forms that are different. And so we have here regular vowel and diphthong stems, pistuo and pistuso, epista, epistusa, pepistuska, pepistuma, epistuthane. And so this pistuo, I believe, has this regular form. It doesn't change. It follows all the rules. And they call that a weak verb because it has to follow the rules. A strong verb can go off on its own and it has different rules and it has different patterns. Does that make sense? That's the difference between a strong and a weak verb. That's how I remember them. Short vowel stems, o, poio. What happens there is, remember, the epsilon drops off because if we put an epsilon and an omega after, we got a whole bunch of vowels. We got a diphthong and 2 vowels. And so they drop one of the vowels off and put a circumflex to tell us we lost a letter. That's what that circumflex tells us. We have it down here and here too as well. The o always lose that letter. And in the nominative singular, first person singular form and present active, okay, form. Now, these verbs right here all follow the regular pattern. There's nothing strange about them at all. So they follow all the rules. We have our liquid stems, and notice they're following the rules too. This one here is angelo, and so this will be your future. And so this is our form. Now we have me verbs, and this one, your stem will be they. That's your stem. Now we could have to look it up in that file that I sent you, and you can find the stem for a lot of your verbs in that file. And so if you want to look them up, you can get that file open it and find your verbs. Of course, they're in alphabetical order in the dictionary. So you see the stem and you see the theta, eta all the way through for the first 3. And you see it in the last one, theta, eta. And these over here, they change a little bit because of some rules of vowels going together, okay? So some rules there for pronunciation. It becomes a diphthong instead of an eta. Theta, eta, theta, eta, theta, theta, eta. And then the theta was a diphthong, epsilon, the iota, and theta with the diphthong, and then theta, eta again over here. So that's your basic stem for tithemy. Any questions? All right. Okay, Russo. And so we have a basic stem there. And I think the stem, I'd have to look it up, but I think there's your stem right there. And I think the upsilon is a connecting vowel, okay? And so you have a kappa eta rho, kappa eta rho, kappa eta rho, kappa eta rho, kappa eta rho. See that right there? There's your stem all the way through on that one. Caruso. I preach, and that's to deliver a message, and it could be a message from a king or from a ruler. And a lot of times, it's like the old town criers in the colonial United States nearly 300 years ago. A town crier would go in, and a lot of people couldn't read, so they'd gather around him, and he'd read the news to them. And so that's basically what we have here. He's going to deliver the message that needs to be delivered. That might be from a king, a message from a king to get all the people in the town together, and he would then read the law to them, the law or something. And we have the lingual stem, sozo, and so, and I believe sigma omega is your stem. And I think you can see it there, there. I think sigma omega right there. And I think right over here, that stem follows all the way through. I'm pretty sure that's the stem. Okay. And grapho is, I think, graph. And graph is the everything before the omega is your stem on that right there. So we see the phi becomes a C because of some of the rules. Graph again, it becomes a C instead of a phi. And graph again, and gram, it becomes a mu, a double mu, and a graph again. So that's your basic stem right there. And of course, once you can figure out the stems, you can figure out the endings if they follow the rules. You can put your endings or you can construct your word from the stem. That's why I want to eventually find as many books as I can that list all the stems of the words, put them in that file for you. I've got several hundred in the file already. Some of the words that are found quite often are in the file. Okay. Now, we'll probably take 3 weeks on this material, but here's your vocabulary, and these are words that are irregular. So as far as I can tell, this is an exhaustive list of the irregular verbs in the New Testament, not in Greek, but just in the ones that are found in the New Testament. That's what we're concerned about. Now, if you really want to get into a study of it, you'll learn more. You get a bigger vocabulary, and you can maybe read some of the writings of some of the writers of the 2nd century and stuff like that. But I'm not into that right now. I'm just worried about reading the New Testament. Okay, any questions? Okay, we have the present. There's your present tense. And there'll be first person, singular, present, indicative, active forms. That'll be the standard that they use. And right over here, we have the future. That'll be the future indicative, active, first person, singular. First person, singular, future, indicative, active. Right? And that's aorist, and that'll be active as well, first person, singular. Then you have the perfect. Notice there's no word in the perfect for this word here, ago. All right? Doesn't exist. The middle, perfect middle, we have a middle, but we don't have a perfect active. We have an aorist passive over here as well. So these are your forms, okay? Now, let me point out, what we have here is if there's a blank space, notice what we're saying is it exists, but it's standard form. And so he leaves it blank if it's standard form. So that's how you know in the perfect tense, it's going to follow the rules, right? But it changes with all your other tenses over here that ago does, right? Let me find another word down here. bino. Bino changes in that first column, future, aorist, perfect. It changes, bino changes here, here, here. But over here and here, it doesn't change. So bino in the perfect, middle, and aorist passive is standard form. Does that help how you read the table? It's blank, it follows the standard form, right? Now, so Balo, it gets messed up on every one of them. On every one of them, it changes form, okay? So it has a different form. Now, it may pick up a form over here somewhere and have like a different stem. And so you may see these two being basically the same, for example, right here, and this over here as well. So probably what we have is these are the same, and these may be different dialects or a variation of something happened there. Budolmai is standard in all of them except the last one, which will be aorist passive. Budolmai, right? So it has an odd form in the aorist passive, but all the other forms are standard. Now, I hope that isn't too confusing. Is that a problem for anybody?
So the blank is what again?
It's standard form. It will follow the patterns that we have, that we saw up here.
Okay.
It'll have a regular pattern, right? He left it blank if it follows the standard pattern. Okay. Okay. Now I sent you a file with the standard pattern on it. Maybe a year and a half ago or something like that. I can't remember. If you don't have it, I can send it tonight after class. Okay. So what we need to do is, this is our exhaustive list of all the verbs that have odd forms. In Fugo, I flee, it has standard form in 2 of the last 2. And Pharaoh, I bear, has a standard form in all of them. It has it in 1 of the forms. That'll be you'll have it out here in this column right here, the perfect middle, column 5. It has the same standard form. But everywhere else you go is got an odd form. It's different. It's irregular. Cairo has 3 that are irregular and 3 that are not, 3 forms. Treco run has standard form in all of them except this one right here. This form is 3rd column. And that will be aorist. The aorist. Okay. Let me find it here now. It'll be aorist right there. Active voice. Aorist tense, active voice. Okay. But when they don't tell you whether it's active or passive, it defaults to active. Okay. Right. And everyone see how you got problems with it. This is a problem here. Some of these, now what we've learned, some of these odd forms, they follow basically a lot of the rules. And so they're that far afield, okay? What are the 6 forms of the principal parts of most verbs? Well, let's look at it here. They're listed right here at the top of these columns. Those are your 6 forms. Present, future, aorist, perfect, middle, and aorist passive. So there's various forms, okay? All right. As to which of these 3 forms or systems formed in more than one way. All right. Now he's making us go back up here. and list them up here. They're formed in more than one way, right? That's the ones that have the first and second forms, like first and second aorist, okay? So we have the aorist having the first and second, we have the perfect having the first and second. We have a kappa middle, I think. Here, the form. There's two that have the forms. That's something good for you to look over. Now, what we're going to do is we need to. Oh, a mouse fell off my computer. Okay, sorry. Sorry about that. Okay. What I want to do is I want us to play with these words a bit if we can. This is Dana and Mandy. I went ahead and put that in there. Pages 325 to 327. Oh, I'm sorry. Trying to figure out how to approach this best. All right. All right. Yeah, I'm present.
Sunday. Sunday. This Sunday. Yeah.
All right. What we're going to have to do is the future here. The sigma becomes a kasi, and that's making future tense. And so the gamma becomes a kasi, right? And we have to just get all of our rules and put them together because everything's going to go off and be a little bit different. So this is why we're going to have to spend about maybe the next 3 weeks on this lesson, trying to work on them. Right? This is the hardest part of the whole course right here. All right, let's say this. We have a text B down there. We can look at some of them. And this is esomai. And he's picked up several different words here. He doesn't have just one word and go all the way across on it. If he did, he would just be reproducing this table up here. That's what he'd be doing. And so let's take it, see if we can figure this word esomai. And
Can I ask you a quick question first?
yes.
Like on their on 220, the list of the regulars, the akuo, the perfect middle, which doesn't have one, which follows a standard form, means that we go back to this form that's over here on the standard form. Right?
Yes.
But so I can't. That would be perfect middle. So it's a duplication.
I'm going to do something here.
With the my, and I don't. So I don't know what that looks like.
Let me do this. All right. I'll get into this other file here. All right. You can see your regular file. I'm going to get out of it right now. All right, can you see one that says contraction of valves and diphthongs? This is the file that I sent you. Go down and pick up our verbs. Standard form from this table. Okay. Right. So this is standard form. Okay. So let's just take, what's the word you wanted to look at?
Akuo.
Akuo. And so Akuo, and it's in which one of the standard form then?
It is perfect middle.
We'd need to pick up the stem on it and add to it. So we need to do. Right. And the perfect middle is what you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's the one that says that doesn't have anything listed in it.
And then here's the next one, perfect middle passive. Right. There's your endings on it. Okay. That'll be your endings. These are endings. So reduplication, take your stem and puts my on it without
Okay, how do you reduplicate the Akuo?
It'll be alpha. The alpha becomes an eta.
Oh, okay.
A cool mine?
A cool, I think that's would be correct. Okay. Now that's the augment. Now, what are you looking at? Perfect reduplication.
Perfect middle. Yeah, the duplication. So that would be the eta. So it'd be
I think it would become an eta.
so
cool.
a Q, but you still have the omega. Okay.
So what we need to do is we probably need to get into this other file. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to get into another file here that I should have had open. We were making plans. We got to talking about what we're going to do next semester. Sorry about that. All right. Now, if you have a Thayer's lexicon, if you happen to have one, he will tell you the forms of them in the lexicon. So I'm going to look up Akuo in Thayer if you happen to have Thayer. I don't know if you do or not. Okay. It's around page 20. And get it more exact. Cool. Now, it may not have all the forms. It only lists what's in the New Testament. Okay. It has perfect, has present tense passages, imperfect, future, and I'm reading down through here.
Yeah, I don't see it in Wikipedia either.
Aorist, passive. I don't think it has a future form we can look at. Okay. Right. I think it has one in the New Testament. Perfect tense. All right. Let's go down to Akuo though, and let's see what the stem is. In here, you go to Kappa. The root is a alpha kappa omicron, omicron upsilon, Ku. That's your basic root or stem, okay? It's irregular in the perfect active. Notice right here what I put in here. It's irregular in the perfect active, okay? And the noun koe is derived from this same root word, okay? That's what I have down here. That's how you read that. So we have a root, alpha, kappa, omicron, upsilon.
We're still looking at the information for student screen.
All right, I'm sorry. Let me get out of that. Apologize. Now, can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I have the root and I put that in bold print so you can find it. There's your root word, and that's where you start with it to build it, okay? That's how you do that.
So would the omega be there or would it not be there?
No, the omega drops off, and that's
So
generally
it'd be a
you take the present indicative active first person singular form and drop the omega off, and that's your root or your stem usually.
Okay.
Okay.
Say kumai.
Occasionally it's not, but that's usually the case. Most of the time it is. Okay. Okay. So that's what you do. Okay. I'm sorry I didn't. I was just looking at what I could see and I forgot to change it over for you. I have a lot of information about Akuo. It's a very interesting thing. Let me digress just for a minute on this. Akuo can take an object in the accusative case or the genitive case, either one. And whenever it takes them in the different cases, one time with the genitive it's to hear without understanding, with the accusative is to hear with understanding. Okay? Someone says, I can't hear you. Well, what do they mean? Do they mean that I didn't hear anything you said, or I didn't hear the sound, or I didn't understand what you said? Does that make sense? In English, we just go by context. But that gets into the question of when Saul of Tarsus, the people that were with him heard the voice, but didn't understand, and they heard it and didn't hear it. And so one recording in Acts 22 and Acts 26 and Acts 9 are the three instances. And one of the passages said they heard, and the other one said they didn't hear. But they're different. One of them is a akuo with an object in the genitive, the other one's an akuo with the object in the accusative, right? And so when it said they heard the voice, it's akuo with the genitive, but they heard without understanding. When they said they didn't hear, it's with the accusative is to hear with understanding. And so it's a different case. That help a bit? Okay. So it's perfectly proper to do that. We do that in English. We just don't do it by the grammar. We do it by context. Okay. Did you hear me? No, I didn't. Didn't understand what you said. There was a car going by and the muffler was loud whenever you were talking, okay? And so something like that. Right. I'm going to get out of this now. We still got it here. And any other word you want to look at?
No, I just wanted to see how to do that one, so that makes sense now.
Now, this is what you probably need to do. If I'm going to go back in here and just look for myself, right? I want to get IRO, see what its stem is, right? Alpha, iota, rho, omega, that word just above it. It won't be very far from us for us to move our mouse around here. All right. There it is, about the middle of your screen. Unfortunately, I don't have the stem on it, but I suspect it's alpha iota rho. That's what I would try, and I think that's probably it. I just need to find some books that have these stems in them. I find, once in a while I have a book that'll have some stems in it, and when I find it, I just take my time and go put them in this file. I'm just trying to get the file as full as I can. I don't have a book that lists all the stems. Okay. All right. I really want to explain. Here's Haima, blood. And then we have two words that are linked with it. Okay. And Haimo, that's for blood. So this is shedding of blood. And that's that word right here. Yes. I don't know if I have that spelled right. I guess I do.
We're still looking at the Greek lexicon and grammar notes.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Am I still on it?
Maybe I missed your cursor.
Can you see my cursor?
I cannot.
Huh. But you can see the grammar notes, okay?
Yeah.
We're still at
in the
Akuo.
cursor now.
Yeah, we're still on Akuo on the Greek lexicon and grammar notes.
Oh, interesting. All right, I'm gonna get out of it and go back to the file. All right, now are we back to the table in the book? All right,
Yeah, section 220 again.
okay. So what I want us to do is I want us to pick a couple of these words and try to see if we can figure them out. From those files that I got. Do you have both those files that I brought up?
No, I do.
No, I can send you both files tonight when I get home. And in this file here, I keep updating the other file, the lexicon and grammar notes. Keep adding stuff to it. So try to do that. He does give us an assignment here, which I wish he did. I wish he had an assignment for us to do. He has 5 questions. And so, what tense, mode, and voice? Mode is the same as mood, okay? It's just a different word for mood. We've only had one mood so far, I think. We've had indicative moods, all we've had, I believe. Just statement of fact. Okay. So, why don't we try Ago and get the perfect form for it? Try to work on it and get those 2 files and look at them, okay? See what we can do. Ago. It's a pretty common word. We could do Akuo, like what Jerry started on. Let's try it. It's found quite a lot. And Bino would be a good one, but those are all perfect. Well, no, Bino is just standard form in the perfect. Right, we just take our basic stem and go to that arrangement, that file we had, and just add to it. Right. So I think we need to play with these just a little bit and get ourselves used to it. Right. And the class is about over, I'm sorry, but we're just pretty close to being through. I don't know if we got much accomplished tonight. I apologize for coming in late.
So what would you like us to do for next week?
We won't have class next week, but we will have 2 weeks from tonight.
Sorry, for our next class.
Yeah. Well, let's work on this and pick a word and let's try to work on it and see what we can do with it, okay? Now, if you have an analytical lexicon, you can check yourself if you happen to have one. Let's try to do it without the analytical lexicon. And I'll try to do as many as I can to get them done, okay? Any questions?
So are we going to go through text A, B,
Yes. we'll
next
do
class?
that. Yes. And we'll have 2 more classes after this, and then we'll break for Christmas. And so we won't get beyond this lesson. Work on it for the next 2 lessons. Okay. And this gets all of those irregular verbs is what it does. We have a list of them. Many there are there, we can count them, but that's the whole kit and caboodle, okay? That's all. It's not that many, but some of them are used a few times though. But like Patho is regular in everything except one column right here. See, there's one column where it's not regular. Pepto is irregular, right? It's regular here and irregular in these other ones. Patho is irregular in all of them, okay? Except the present tense, right? So it's one it's irregular in everything, okay, except the present tense, right? And it looks like this may be your stem. Path is the stem right here. But I think the theta gets dropped off and becomes a sigma over here, see, in the future. And there's your augment epsilon, and then it becomes a sigma. And this one's irregular, okay? And there's pay, and the theta becomes a sigma over here, right? So it does some strange stuff for us. Does things a little differently, okay? Any questions, further? Okay, we're gonna end the class tonight and we'll be back in 2 weeks. I'll try to work on this as much as I can, get as many of these worked up as I can. And I might just make a file for us, okay? And
I still didn't catch what akuo would be in the perfect middle. Did we ever come to a resolution on that?
I put in hey kumai, and I just have to look that up and see if that's correct.
Okay. I was looking at all the free Google resources and it didn't have it, so I was just curious.
well, we may not even have it in the New Testament, okay? So, but he's wanting us to learn these. And when he was teaching this, some of his students would be reading other stuff besides the New Testament. He got them to the point where they'd be reading other books, writing of the church fathers and stuff like that, okay?
Do you have any recommendations?
Do what?
Any recommendations
For what?
for reading?
What? Well, for reading,
Uh-huh.
for this or for for other great books to read,
Other Greek sources.
other resources. Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get into my grammar books and see if I can find them, where they do deal with some of these things. And I don't know, you probably don't, you just don't have the books I have. I've got about 30 or 40 books in my library, Greek books.
Is the 6th the last day for class? We don't come next week and then one more time, is that right?
2.
Oh, sorry.
I'm on a break right now, fellas. Okay, sorry.